Hello everybody, my name is Megan, if you're new to my channel, welcome back. I'm wearing the exact same shirt I'm wearing in my last video because I'm filming it in the exact same day. Anyway, my last video is my introduction to my 2022 summer rolling project pants, so if you're interested in that, I'll make sure to pop that bad boy up here in the eye, and you can check that out. But today's video, if you cannot tell by the title, I am doing my 2022 belated makeup inventory. So the last makeup inventory that I did was actually last June-ish, and it is now May 31st, so I think this video is going up like June 5th? 6th? June 6th. I think that's coming Monday. And honestly, this last span of pretty much almost a full year has just been absolutely crazy for me. Just more than I'm even willing to try to go into. So I just kind of went ahead and just completely restarted my makeup inventory. I moved around some of my categories. So some categories I had in my last inventory I don't have in this one. So the numbers are a little bit different because I like moved around palettes and whatnot and made them individual things. So if you are at all interested in my last makeup inventories as well as my beauty inventory where I kind of go over skincare, hair care, other stuff that's not makeup, I will go ahead and post that playlist up in the eye as well, and feel free to check that out, which is also, that playlist is where this video is going to be too, so there's that. But with that being said, let's go ahead and just kind of jump on into currently right now as of May 31st of 2022 what my makeup inventory is. For those of you who don't know what a makeup inventory is, sorry, I'm just going to ramble on here for one more second. It's just taking inventory, so a count of what all I have in my makeup collection, just so I can kind of keep track of what I have, what I'm using, what I'm bringing in, all that fun stuff. I do have goals, but they aren't necessarily like strict goals for myself where I'm saying, like, for example, for primers I currently have 6 and my goal for the end of the year is to have 3, but that doesn't mean that like by the end of the year I have to have 3, because I don't think realistically that I'm going to use 3 primers, and I don't know that I'm going to declutter enough to make it 3. Like, I'm not going to declutter makeup just for the sake of like hitting that number, but it's a good, like, I'd be happy with 3 primers at some point in time. So that's my like ultimate goal, but then obviously I'm keeping track of what I have now and then kind of moving along with it. So with that being said, for primer, as I just mentioned, I currently have 6 primers in my collection and my goal is to have 3. For foundations, I have 4, and I'm also looking to bring that down to 3. I'm more than happy with 2 like lighter coverage foundations and the one that's like a little bit heavier. Currently I have one that's a little darker, one that's a little bit lighter for my lighter coverage, and then one in my, well, currently I guess I have 2, but then one in my like skin tone, obviously like the lighter shade because that's what I normally am. That's a little bit heavier, so I can use it in the event that I want something a little bit more heavy coverage. For concealers, I currently have 6. I'd be happy bringing that down to 4, and I do have a declutter coming up. I believe it's next week. I think I can get there. So check back in next week if you're watching this within the week that it's uploaded to see my declutter. If it's already posted, check that out as well. Anyway, and I'm also not doing like pictures of everything right now, just because my next video will be a collection and declutter, so you'll see everything that I currently have next week. So anyway, concealers I have 6. My ultimate goal is to get down to 4 at some point. For powders I currently have 6, which is a lot considering I really only use powder under my eyes, and that's like face powders, you know, loose powders, pressed powders, but for my face that's not counting like bronzers, blushes, or anything like that. I'd be happy getting it down to 4. We'll see how that goes. For setting sprays, I currently have 2. I'm okay with keeping it at 2. For my powder blushes, I think this is where my numbers start to skew from last year because I did eliminate my face palette category. So like instead of counting, you know, my blush palette or whatever as a face palette, I'm now counting it as like 8 individual blushes. So my powder blush number has moved up to 14. My goal is to have 7. Obviously I'm not going to get through 5 powder blushes this year, but again, down the line my goal is to have about 7. For cream blush I currently have 12. My goal is to bring it down to 6. For powder bronzer, and I put bronzer as like bronzer contour because I don't see a need to separate the two. I kind of use them interchangeably a little bit. So for my powder bronzers, I currently have 10. My goal is to get myself down to 8, which is still a lot of bronzer and contour. I'm well aware of that, but baby steps, one at a time. For my cream bronzers, I currently have 4. My goal is to potentially be down to 3. For my powder highlights, this again is one that is a lot different from last year. But for powder highlights, I now have 13. My goal is to bring myself down to 9. Again, that's a lot more than I definitely need, and I'm aware of that, but taking it a day at a time. For cream highlights, I have 5, and my goal is to get myself down to about 3. For single eyeshadows, I currently have 8. My goal is 5. I really don't use single shadow all that much, and these are powder shadows. I really don't use single shadows all that often. So even then 5 is like more than I need, and I'm aware of that, but they are nice to still have in my collection. For cream shadows, I currently have 5. My goal is to potentially get that down to 4. I use cream shadow more than, do I have 5? Do I have 6? Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. I guess I do have 5. I think I have 5. But again, oh my goodness, what is going on? Anyway, again, I don't often reach for my cream shadows, but I do still like having them, and those do go bad a little bit quicker. Obviously, cream products do go bad quicker than powder products do. So again, I just kind of want to keep an eye on those. For eyeshadow bases, I currently have 2. I'm happy with 1, but I do want to actually try to get through my bases unless one of them goes bad. So that'll just kind of happen when it happens. Eyeshadow palettes, I'm down to 18, which is a lot, especially considering that more recently I've been doing super simple eye looks where I don't even use eyeshadow palettes. I just use whatever bronzer and highlight I'm wearing for the day. So there's that. My goal is 15, still an outrageous number, but we'll see how that goes. I'm very attached to a lot of my eyeshadow palettes, so we'll see kind of how that goes. Mascaras, I currently have 13, although this one I will admit was a little bit hard for me to count because there are a few that I had already kind of planned on decluttering, but I never actually got around to doing it, and there are some that are empty that I just never filmed my empties video, and so they're all just kind of thrown together. So I just counted all of them as 13. My goal is to get down to like 6, which is still a lot, but I'm trying to find my mascaras that I really enjoy again. So we'll kind of see how that goes. For eyeliners, I currently have 1. My goal is actually to have 2. I have a like liquid black eyeliner, but I'd also be happy with like a brown like kohl liner, pencil liner, so that way I can kind of like smoke something out in addition to having my wing. But I'm not gonna like go out and buy one just for the sake of buying something. So if one calls to me, I'll pick that up and I'll be happy with it, but again, I'm not gonna like force myself to buy products in order to reach a goal, you know. For my brow pencils, I currently have 4. My goal is to have 2. With my brow pencils, I never want to have like 1. I always want to have at least 2 because I have like a fear of because it's happened before where I like do one brow and then I'm like, oh my god, I'm out, like my pencil's out and I don't have enough product for my other brow, so I always have 2 on hand. But then there was one time where like I had just used 1 up, and so, but I couldn't remember if it was like if I had a backup left or whatever, so I bought 2 more and now I have 4. So I'm not worried about that. Brows is something that I do regularly. I'm not gonna be too concerned. I will get through those products. For brow gels, I currently have 3. My goal is to hit 2, which I think one of them is empty, so I think we'll be able to do that pretty easily. But I'm happy with a colored brow gel as well as a clear brow gel, and those would be my 2. I have 4 pairs of lashes. I don't really use lashes all that often, but I do enjoy having them. And so I'm happy with my 4 pairs. Lash glue, I have 2 because one is like an actual lash glue and then one is like the magnetic lash glue, because one of my pairs of lashes is like a magnetic lash. Or it's like the Glamnetic where it's like, you know, one of those. So as long as I have both types of lashes, I'm going to keep both types of glues. So that is that. For lip liners, I currently have 5. I'd be happy with like 4, maybe even 3. So we'll kind of see how that goes. My bullet or crayon lipsticks, I have 10. I'd be happy getting that down to about 8. Lip products is something that I'm trying to get myself back into, but I don't really wear them all that often. So I do have a lot of lip products, with that being said. As for liquid lipsticks, I currently have 5. I'd be happy with potentially getting myself down to 4. The ones that I have I think are really pretty colors that I enjoy, but I don't really wear liquid lipstick all that often. So we'll see how that goes. And then lip glosses, I currently have 15. I'd be happy to get that down to 12. Because I do want to make sure that I'm like not just like decluttering my products, but like using my products. So, you know, there's that. As long as my lip glosses are good and they're colors that I want to use, I am getting back into lip gloss. So I'm not going to be too like concerned with making sure that I like declutter all my lip gloss or anything like that. So with that being said, my total number of makeup items is 177. And again, that's counting like individual pans. Like I have a 4-pan highlight palette, but I'm counting it as 4 products, you know? So I currently have 177 items, and assuming I'm able to hit all my goal numbers, I'll be down to 123, which is still a lot, but significantly less than I currently have. Here's an interesting one that I thought I would kind of bring into because I was shocked about this number. My eyeshadow palette pans. So as I mentioned, I have 18 palettes, like eyeshadow palettes. And between those 18 palettes, I have 158 individual pans of eyeshadow. I'm never going to use 158 individual pans of eyeshadow. Like, that's just, when I looked at that number, it's like, there's no way. Because it's like 15, 15, 14, 14, like 4, you know, I'm like, that the number doesn't like add up to 158 when I look at it. But I counted it out, and sure enough, I have 158 eyeshadow or individual pans. So there's that. Alright, well that is everything in my makeup inventory as of right now. Like I said, I am planning a declutter and like a collection, makeup collection soon, so make sure you come back to check that out next week. And with that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd appreciate you give it a thumbs up down below and left a comment if you felt inclined to do so. If you want to see more of me in the future, I'm not sure why I would, but hey dude, I'm not going to judge you. Go ahead and subscribe down below as well. And with that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.